Well, still overseas, Tokyo's Olympics boss says Japan remains committed to holding a safe Games despite a surge of COVID-19 cases in the country. Joining us live now is the Wall Street Journal's Japan editor, Alastair Gale. Alastair, is there still a chance the Olympics could fall over and get cancelled at the last minute?
Yes, there's a chance. We've got 3 months to go. A lot can happen in those 3 months. What we had this week was one of the senior figures in the ruling party here saying for the first time that cancellation is an option. So that's something that was pushed back on very hard by the organisers, saying, no, we're focused on making sure the Games go ahead. We've had IOC figures, John Coates from Australia, saying the Olympics will happen. But as you mentioned, we are going into a new wave of virus cases here. Tokyo is one place that has been hit pretty badly. And what we're seeing is it's the variants from around the world that are causing this latest rise in cases. And of course, the idea of having tens of thousands of people, athletes and officials and media and other people coming from around the world into Japan for the Olympics in 3 months' time, just as we're seeing a rise in virus cases now, is not something that's particularly appealing for many people here. So there's still strong opposition against the Olympics going ahead as planned, but you know, as I say, still 3 months to go, a lot can happen.
So just on the outbreaks that you were talking about there, that recent surge, I've seen reports saying that a state of emergency could be declared shortly. How is Japan coping with that? How's the health system coping?
Well, in some parts of Japan, the health system is not coping very well at all. In Osaka, which is the main city in the west of Japan, has had the largest number of new cases, and their hospital system is really struggling. The governor in Osaka has already asked the government to declare a state of emergency there. Here in Tokyo, the governor is considering the same thing, may ask the government this week to declare a state of emergency in Tokyo. What that means is that businesses will be asked to close early, you know, restaurants will be asked to close early, and people will be strongly encouraged to stay home. But of course, a state of emergency doesn't really sound like the sort of situation where you want to be considering having Olympics taking place. So it's making the organisers very nervous. They're doing what they can to say that, you know, precautions will be in place. Whatever happens for the Olympics, they are encouraging athletes to come in late and leave early. Of course, there won't be any foreign spectators here. The media has been asked to kind of stay in the media areas and not, you know, travel into the city. So there's various things that the organisers are doing to kind of reassure the public and say, look, if this goes ahead, even with all these people coming from around the world, we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure this is safe and secure. But that's a tough sell at the moment with the situation, you know, going in the wrong direction as far as the organisers are concerned.
How important a part is the vaccination rollout, not just among the athletes and the media that will be flying in for the Games, but more broadly, how is the rollout progressing there in Japan?
Well, the short answer to that is it's not progressing well at all. We've just started the general rollout to the public amongst the elderly, and the medical workers have been vaccinated, but we're not expecting the majority of the population to be vaccinated until after the Olympics. So you have a situation where, you know, most Japanese are going to feel vulnerable in a situation where you have a major international sporting event here. The IOC has said they want the athletes to be vaccinated. That is something that some countries are working on and getting their Olympians, you know, vaccinated. But here in Japan, there's a question whether the Japanese athletes are going to be vaccinated or not. There have been some reports that the athletes would be moved to the front of the queue for vaccinations. Those have been denied so far by the government. But of course, if you have a situation where some athletes are vaccinated and others aren't, then, you know, you are basically saying, well, there may be some spread amongst the athletes, you know, so even if some are vaccinated, it's not, you know, we're not doing the best job we can. So the vaccination is a difficult issue for the organisers to deal with, and it's something that they say, look, regardless of whether there's widespread vaccination or not, the measures that we'll have in place, social distancing, regular testing of people involved in the Olympics, will be sufficient to avoid a so-called super spreader event, where this becomes, a disaster basically, and the virus spreads quite widely amongst people involved. That's something that I think it's fair to say the public is somewhat sceptical about.
Yeah, and you can understand that position, as you say, though. Plenty can happen in 3 months' time. Alastair, Gale, appreciate you joining us with the update.